I am so excited to bring Morgan Rich from the Beyonders to you today. So, first of all, hello to everybody out there tuning in the Parent Tween Connection realm. Excited to have you join us. If we've never met, I'm Clarissa Constantine. I'm the founder of Parent Tween Connection. We are where parents go when they don't know where to go. Why? Because we bring incredible professionals like Morgan to you to give you insight about how to navigate life right now with those beasties known as teens and tweens. So, Morgan, hello, welcome, and I am so glad to have you.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you so much. And thanks for the beautiful work you put into the world. It's such a tender and beautiful place and challenging place for both the teens and the tweens and, of course, us parents and those.
And the parents. Well, and it's interesting, full disclosure to anybody tuning in, I'm actually not a parent.
Yeah.
And people say to me, how did you get into this? Like, what pulled you to launch something like Parent Tween Connection when you don't have kids? And I was like, because I was the teenager in a challenging mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think that if we, reversed time 30 years, that perhaps having some of the insights that we're now able to bring to today's parents, maybe things could have been different for me and my mom.
Beautiful.
So
yeah.
With that, give us a little bit of your background, Morgan. Who are you? What do you do? And frankly, how is it that as a gentleman, you came into this industry? Because this is certainly a female dominant world.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you again. Nice to be here. And, I was a kid who was really, did not do well in school. I struggled a lot as a young person. And then, as things go, pursued a dream of being a professional hockey player. And then when I was 18, which didn't happen, just for the record. And then at 18, my dad died, and it was a moment where I needed a resource of someone who was really honest and open and able to hear me and see me through the nonsense of the dominant culture, and I couldn't find that person, and so it just became really clear that was both, the death became a real gift and that it opened me to this work. And that's why I'm here, mostly, like, not unlike what you said, is I needed someone. And so my work now is to be with parents, is to be with teens, is to be with young people who are trying to navigate their way. And the place that I particularly like to sit is in the intensity of the difficulty with people. Like, let's get really good at being uncomfortable, because the world is uncomfortable and the world is chaotic. So instead of trying to pretend that it's not and avoid it, I actually want to go towards it. So in the men's groups that I lead, which have beautiful generational men, we have a 17-year-old and a 70-year-old, and then in between, and it's this gorgeous interweaving of bringing together different, like the young guys give the old guys something, the old guys give the young, and it's just this really honest, open connection that's beautiful. So there, that's one thing. And then one-on-one coaching, with parents, with young people, with men, and so it's hanging in those really intense places. And I think there's a really important place around transitions, around honoring the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade, from 9th grade out into the world. Those moments when life really shifts, and being in those as the deaths, the little d deaths that they are, the ending of your kid's never going to be in high school again. They are theoretically, potentially out, leaving the house, dynamic shift, and honoring that, like really honoring that with like ceremonial ritual, allowing the emotion of all of that to really happen, so we stop getting confused about whether or not what stage of life we're in. So that's the work that I do. I'm honored to do it. Mostly it's listening and caring and bringing my heart into spaces and just helping people navigate real life.
Well, and then that makes sense as to why, when you initially reached out about interest in joining me for these talks, we're talking about being a bridge between worlds, because those are exactly the transitions that you're talking about. And so I know one of the things that you are passionate, or that you're intent upon, is recognizing that emotional presence has to come before the fixing, the advising, the counseling, any of that jazz. So first of all, what do you mean by emotional presence? Because I think we could take that in a few different directions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, emotional presence is I think of presence as the ability to be in each moment and allow it to be exactly what it is. So it's about being available, and it's about being with what is, instead of trying to control or manipulate the situation. I talk about it a lot in terms of masculinity, that there's this unhealthy masculine that wants to dominate and control and push the narrative a certain direction. And
Hmm.
instead, what I think strong masculinity and just presence as a parent is being able to be in the moment, is to listen with the ears of your heart, is to bring
Mm-hmm.
the to really see and honor. I think what you wanted when you were young from your mom is to be seen,
Hmm.
not to be told what to do, not to be controlled, not to be manipulated, but to actually be seen and honored, and then supported in developing your emotional sense, your emotional
Hmm.
body, your ability to be resilient and tough. So that's the work as parents we have to do, because it's if we aren't doing it, then obviously they aren't going to be doing it. So
Sure. If the adults aren't modeling it, the kids don't have anything to mimic.
yeah, yeah.
So then why is that, from your perspective, a precursor to the fixing, the advising, the telling what to do?
Yeah, and I mean, I might even go down the road of like, is there a place of fixing, controlling, trying to figure out what to do? Because it's like, to me, what I want is, I want people who are able to be in the present moment, able to trust and know that I can do hard things, and I can
Hmm.
navigate exactly what comes up when I'm right here. Right? And so we aren't trying to fix anything. What we're trying to do is actually get good at being resilient. We're trying to be
Hmm.
good at being in the emergent moment. We're trying to be good at the dynamic of the world, because as we know, like I just said, when I was 18, my dad died. It's like there's nothing to fix.
Hmm.
There's nothing to. It's like he died, and there I was now in the challenging space of having to feel really deeply, of feeling so lost and lonely and confused, and having to ask all the big questions of life. Right. And so, to me, so much about what's happening with teens is we're trying to push them in a direction, trying to get them to do good in school, or do this or do that, and trying to, you
Hmm.
know instead of really listening, and allowing exactly what's happening to be the lesson that needs to be happening,
Hmm.
of here's how I deal with feeling insecure about talking to a boy or girl. Here's how I deal with struggling in a class. Here's how I deal with feeling lost and confused.
Hmm.
So to me, that's the direction I want to go. So I want to go in the direction of being in those beautiful moments and using them as failure leads to success.
So then oftentimes parents are like, my kids don't talk to me, they don't want to, they don't open up to me, and I know from my experience it's because we don't feel seen or understood, or in the moment we're trying to fix, or being, we're receiving it as being fixed or told what to do.
Right.
And there are times that I now know as an adult that I didn't recognize in myself as a kid, where I'm like, I just want to be left alone. I know that I can figure this out. Stop pestering me, stop asking me, stop, like, just go away.
Yeah.
And I have to imagine for my mom, that was really hard, because I imagine she wanted to help the situation. And by me going, just go away, leave me alone, had to be really hurtful.
Oh,
And yet I recognize that there are times now, like my husband will even be like, why don't you talk to me? And I'm like, because I don't know what to talk about sometimes. And I'm an internal processor. I need
mhm.
to work it out in my brain before I can verbalize it. And that was true then. I just didn't recognize it. So, like, as the adults in the space, right, that we're talking to, how do we know when it's a case of like, all right, you just need some space, versus you feel like I'm not honoring you or respecting you or seeing you or understanding you? Because they could look the same.
Yeah, yeah. So just such a foundation of all the work that I do is about, I've got me, is
Mm-hmm.
learning that I am okay with myself, that I don't need external variables to validate myself as an okay human being, that I have worked hard, and I have a daily practice where I meditate each day, start each day connecting into that part of
Mm-hmm.
myself that I love, that I know is, here's how I want to be in the world, and here's who I am in the world. And I
Mm-hmm.
connect with that every morning, because that's the foundation. And so then
Mm-hmm.
my self-worth, my ability as a parent, my confidence in myself isn't dependent upon my kid getting A's or getting into a certain college or doing whatever they do or making the team or being the best player or whatever, whatever. My self-worth isn't wrapped up in their achievement.
Mm-hmm.
Myself, I've got that. And so then I'm able to be in those moments where I'm able to really be present with them and allow the space and again listen with the ears of the heart to know. And when that ego part, when that need to be validated part is off to the side, then I can really step into those moments and listen and feel the moment, and
Mm-hmm.
know that what I want for my kid is to learn how to be and dance with the world, is to learn to be resilient in that same way, is to learn there I've got me. So
Mm-hmm.
for you, here you are, this quiet, introverted, I need space kind of person. If I take
Mm-hmm.
that personally as a parent, now we're in a conflict, because now I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, like, come on, like I need the validation that I'm good, that I know what to do, and I had. It's like, no, if I can just go like, oh, here's Clarissa, and there she is, like doing that beautiful thing that she does, where she needs quiet and she needs to, do her thing. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
beautiful and gorgeous is that? And then I could acknowledge you for that and just say, like, wow, tell me about that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me, like, what happens when you go? Like, what is that process?
Mm-hmm.
And so then we're starting to create connection in that place instead of disconnection. So again, the foundation is the I've got me. That without that, all of this is way more challenging.
And I think you bring up a point that a lot of us experienced, and perhaps our next generation is, I can't even say perhaps, that they are experiencing to some extent is, I actually saw this in my meditation app that I use a couple of weeks ago, that something to the effect of like, the worst thing a kid could have is a parent's unfulfilled dreams, where they're expecting the kids to live out the dreams that they didn't achieve for themselves, or that the parents are identifying their value, their worth based on their kids' successes. And I've seen this with families with kids, in elementary school. If the kiddo is, I know one friend, a kiddo was diagnosed with ADHD and was a behavioral challenge in like second or third grade, and the mom did a really good job of separating and going, this is about him. This isn't about me being a bad parent. But there's so many parents who do internalize that, of like, where did I go wrong? I'm the parent. I should know my kid. And that's got to be a really hard place to be.
Right. And like, I need, like, here we go back to the fixing thing, like I need to fix
Mm-hmm.
them. Oh my God, they have ADHD. Something's wrong. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, I have ADHD. I've never been diagnosed, but like, I'm all over the place. And didn't do well in school. And it just isn't my thing. It took me a long time to realize, like, that's not about me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there, the way that I learn is really, really different than the way that sitting in a classroom and absorbing information.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole idea of like, I'm not smart, like I'm smart or not smart. Smart is like this concept that we've captured into this like tiny little box of like
Absolutely.
academically capable. Like, I'm really smart at listening. I'm really smart at like touching and holding and feeling, and like I'm really, really good at that kind of thing. But that's not on standardized tests.
Nope. Correct. Yeah.
So we're smart. Everyone is smart in a lot of different ways.
I was going to say, so when it comes to like, one of the things that you said, like a really good way to connect when you do have that more introverted me as a kid, right? Tell me, one of my favorite phrases is tell me more. And I heard you say, tell me what it's like when, right?
Yeah.
Where does your
Right.
brain go? How do you function? What goes on like behind
Totally.
the skull, right? So I've found that, and that's something that I certainly invite folks to do, regardless of who they're trying to connect with. What are
Yes.
some other practices? Because, like, certainly when we age up into that middle school, high school arena, right? There's a natural separation because parents don't have to be involved in the same ways necessarily that they were. They're not the ones that are responsible for arranging play dates and always like pick up from school and all of that jazz. And the kids are off doing their own.
Moment is a fun moment too, of like when they get their driver's license. It's like you have all this beautiful time with driving them around, which you kind of resent because it's kind of a pain in the butt. But also it's like connection time, and when that goes, anyway,
Absolutely. So what are some other practices that you recommend that parents can incorporate
Yeah.
on a daily basis or on an every other day. I mean, we certainly don't want to, we ADHD folk tend to be like, I'm going to do it every day. And then we get 3 days in and fourth day doesn't happen and it's all lost, right? But what are some easy ways that parents can keep the communication open?
Yeah. One, again, I'll just say is having my own daily practice. It's having,
Mm-hmm.
is saying like, okay, I'm gonna do that. And I don't do it every day, but pretty good about it because it's a foundation. So coming into that I've got me place of real presence is a grounding for all of it. And so that's one. Acknowledgement is a really huge thing. Teens are searching for solid ground. They are sort of naturally, your body is shifting, puberty, you're insecure about your parts, whether they're too big or too small or this or whatever, body's this, body's that. It's turning into something different. There's a lot of just like real shaky ground. So they are searching for solid ground. And so as parents, if we are able again to get ourselves off to the side and really look into what are the things that they are doing. For you have this beautiful ability to be quiet. So if I as a parent can start to acknowledge that, go like, well, Calistria, you have something really, you're doing something that's really unique and beautiful because you're taking care of yourself in this way that is really, really powerful. And it's part of who you are. Not everyone has that skill, but you do. And can you like tell me more about it? And then, so the acknowledgement of helping them see the positive parts of what they're doing. If they make an effort on a paper or, in a class and it doesn't go well, you can be like, oh, you got a fucking C. Sorry for the swearing. You got to, you got to see on that. You got to see on the test, like what's wrong. Or you could be like, wow, I really saw you make the effort on that, and that's a beautiful thing because sometimes, tests go the way tests go or whatever they are, but the effort is what matters. And so you're helping direct them to the place of being a learner. And that's through acknowledgement. It's through really being able to help them feel seen and loved and respected, and that this is a hard world and they're headed for a hard world. It's not going to get easier out there. And so to be ready to be able to be with that, like help them gain the skill and the trust in themselves, that they know that they are trustworthy, that they are capable in this world. So those kind of things. And then there's this other, just last thing, I have a fabulous story, which is one of my favorite stories, is be patient and slow down and listen for the moments, and just keep being present. So I had a mom who was really wanting to connect with her son. And, just that whole, like, he was distant, he wouldn't engage, he wouldn't share, he wasn't sharing deeply, he was having a hard time, she knew he was having a hard time, she could see he was hurting, just was like, just a mom being like, oh, I want to connect with my kid. And so she just kept, being patient, sort of hanging out. One day she's unloading the dishwasher and he sits down and starts talking and just opening up. And she unloads the dishwasher and he's still going. And she realizes like he's not going to stop. And so she starts to take the dishes back out of the cabinets and put them back in the dishwasher. And she proceeded to like unload and load the dishwasher for like 45 minutes while he kept going. Because it was one of those, like it was just, I'm getting chills. Like I just get, every time I tell this story, I'm like, it's such a, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of emotion in there for me because it's such a beautiful moment.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful moment of patience and connection and being and allowing for that space to happen. And it happens at really weird, like it happens driving, or it happens, after a sporting event or whatever. Like it just happens in these moments you would never expect. And when they're there, it's like they're golden, beautiful. I mean, it's just like, I just always think of her and blessings to them so much, just like catching that moment. And he's like, Mama, didn't you just do that? She's like, oh yeah, it's fine. And he just like, he was in it.
Yeah.
And so, those moments, they're trying, like the teens, there's all kinds of different situations, but like they are trying so hard to figure things out. They are really in it and it's hard. And we all remember being teenagers and it's just like, to be able to allow them to be in that space and hold them and love them as they, and really know that they are working through it, trust that they are working through it. Because when you trust them, then they can trust them.
Absolutely. Well, I think that also ties into the last point that you wanted to share about how when the adults in their lives model self-awareness, it actually opens doorways for them to be honest with the adults and with themselves, I'm imagining. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. I mean, it's like, who you are speaks so loud that I can't hear who you say you are. And so being able to model emotional availability, being able to know that as parents we make mistakes. I don't, like, I can't know everything. I'm not going to know everything. And I've made plenty of mistakes. I had a moment with my daughter where she felt really betrayed by me. And it was this moment of like really taking responsibility for my actions, and of apologizing again and realizing that, man, I didn't show up in the way I wish I had. And so by modeling that, it then gives her a space to be like, hey, I don't have to be perfect. I can be, make mistakes. And then the rupture and repair piece of we're going to make mistakes, and how we recover from those is actually where relationships deepen, and so that emotional resilience to me and presence is the way forward in this crazy world. If you aren't present and you don't love yourself and figure out how to do that, man, it is wild out there, and you get lost real fast. And I think we're failing our kids in many ways, and in a lot of different areas, by not helping them really develop that love and resilience of them in themselves.
Sure. Well, and I mean,
we have to have that, right? We have to have that in order to
absolutely. Well, and we can look at the numbers right now, at least here in the States, relative to mental health and the challenges that our kids are facing. And, we can demonize all the negative things, all the things. Great. That's all there. That's not changing. Social media is not going away. Phones aren't going away. So let's look at the solutions and what can we do to actually help build that emotional presence, that resilience, that I've got me idea. Because let me tell you, it took me well into my 30s, and I'm nigh on 50 at this point to actually get to a point of being like, hey, I got me, and I'm going to be okay regardless of what else happens, and it's that's a long road to go if you don't get it as a teenager or younger.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah, I was going to say we could talk forever and clearly you'll be back. I wanted to wrap up. I ask all of our guests, as long as I remember, everything that we do at Parent Tween Connection is based on what I call the foundations of connection, where I literally sat down and had a conversation with myself at one point, and I was like, self, when you're in the coaching space with kids, I've been an SAT and ACT coach. Why is it that oftentimes they feel more comfortable talking to me than they do talking to their parents, whom they have a long history with? And it's what I found is that it's specifically because I'm not mom in a lot of cases that, there's a little bit of a remove. But what came out of that conversation was the acronym connection, and each letter stands for a phrase. And so I'm going to kind of rattle them off for anybody tuning in. If you want a copy of these, they're on our website. You can download them for free, put them on the fridge, bathroom mirror, whatever. Here's where they go. And Morgan, I'd love to know which one pings most. My instinct is that several will, but does one kind of come out most at you? So it's create a safe place, observe, non-judgment, nod and smile, as in zip it, explore, challenge your truths or curiosity, take your time, innovate, own your own story, or nurture. Yeah, I knew your head would nod for a lot of them, but which one is like this? Me.
Yeah, they're also, they're good, and yeah, it's a beautiful list. And so the one that came up was the nod and nod and that. And I have a story of I had several moms, but one particularly who was overly involved, trying to solve, trying to fix, trying to do things. And I said, you have got to let him have his experience, and so your job is to sit on your hands, and it's just like, hey, don't have her sit. And just let him fall down. Let him figure it out, and he will, or he won't. But he's got to learn how to navigate that space. And so you can just sit back and love him and nod and be right in that place. So 3 years later, I connect with her, and she's like, "Can I take my hands out now?"
Nope.
And I was like,
Forevermore.
"No, you're doing great. Like they're perfect right there." And he's doing, and he's starting to figure it out, So yeah, beautiful list. Thank you for sharing that. And I mean, I can make
Awesome.
about every one of them because I think
Sure.
there's so many, but that was the one that jumped out.
That's awesome. All right. So, Morgan, for anyone tuning in who wants to learn more about you and the support that you offer, where do they find you?
Yeah, morganrich.com is a real simple resource. And I have something for the listeners, which is morgan.com/courage. And there's a resource there that is your next courageous step. So how might you take this step into being a different kind of parent, into being with yourself? And so that's there. You can also schedule a short call with me from that place. All my coaching and groups and resources are there. I'm on the social media places. That's not my my go-to because of all the social media nuttiness. YouTube is a really nice resource. I think it's more at Morgan Rich Beyonder is my YouTube, and you'll see videos and good things there. And then I have a Substack, which is morganrich.substack, morganrich.substack.com, I think is what it is.
Okay.
So there it is.
Fantastic.
Thank
All
you.
right. So, folks tuning in, if you have not yet, make sure to hit follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're hearing us on. And if you are interested, Morgan and I are going to head over to Parent Tween Village, which is our community, where, again, we bring in all these amazing guests. We bring education and community and commiseration sometimes and moral support. If you're interested, check it out at parenttweenconnection.com/Parent Tween Village. But for our members, we are going to be live there in just a few minutes, where we are going to be continuing our conversation in a little bit different direction. And Morgan has titled this conversation Beyond Success, Redefining What It Means to Thrive as a Family. So I am very excited to have that conversation. So we're going to go over and out here. And Morgan, I will see you in Parent Tween Village in just a couple minutes.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great afternoon.